Felder products are known for their high quality and great ergonomics. However, the same cannot be said for their user manuals. Along with the machine, I received several booklets that, frankly speaking, are quite difficult to understand. I'd like to share how I finally figured out the digital positioning display. I have a user manual spanning several pages with a parameter table at the end. Let's break them down. I hope this will improve your understanding and save you the time you'd otherwise spend searching for answers on each of them. The manual states that the magnetic scale should be wiped with a soft cloth from time to time to ensure the sensor reads accurately. I personally make sure to vacuum it after every significant buildup of dust, as the sensor starts to give false readings and measurement errors begin to creep in. Press and hold the power button for 4 to 5 seconds to turn the digital sensor on or off. Once powered on, the display will perform a self-test by showing all segments and the firmware version. After that, it will display either 0 or the last recorded value and will be ready for operation. Once the display is on, press and hold the programming button marked with a wrench icon for 5 seconds. The word code will appear, prompting you to enter the activation password. For some reason, this secret combination is always 5850. To enter these digits, use buttons 2 and 3. Press button 3 to move between digits and button 2 to change the value. After entering the code, you must press button 4 to enter the parameter submenu. Here, buttons 2 and 3 function the same way. To navigate through the different parameters, press the first button with wrench icon. It is crucial to remember that you must save your changes after adjusting each parameter, otherwise they will be lost. Also, note that if there is no activity for 30 seconds, the system will exit the menu without saving any changes. When setting it up for the first time, it is vital to ensure that the language is set to English. If not, you will need to go to the very last parameter, language, and switch it from German to English. One downside is that once you scroll through all the parameters, they don't loop back to the beginning. Instead, the device returns to normal measurement mode. This means that once you go from the first parameter, resolution, to the last parameter, language, pressing the first button again will exit the menu. If you need to change something else, you'll have to enter the passcode and start the whole process over again. It's quite inconvenient. Let's go through all the set parameters. First is resolution, which determines the display accuracy using a step value that you define yourself. If you are working with wood in millimeters, choose 0.1 millimeters. This is the woodworking standard, precise enough without being overly sensitive. For high precision cuts, such as fine furniture making, you might choose 0.05 millimeters. This provides greater precision, but the display might flicker due to machine vibration. If you work in inches, select the fractional or decimal inch accuracy that suits your needs. If high precision isn't required, you can select the 1 setting. In this mode, the display will not show any decimal points. Since this parameter is changed quite often, there is a built-in shortcut. Press buttons 1 and 3 simultaneously to jump directly to the resolution setting, bypassing the need for a passcode. After making your selection, do not forget to save your changes, otherwise they won't take effect when you exit. Note that the options available through the shortcut are slightly limited compared to the full list. If you need the complete range of options, you must enter through the passcode menu. This parameter includes a free mode, which is essential for working in degrees when using the index system. Activating free mode unlocks the FAC and DP parameters, allowing the display to calculate values in degrees instead of millimeters. Without this mode, these two parameters remain inaccessible or locked. Why is free mode necessary for angular work? To understand this, we must look at the index system itself. It is a massive aluminum construction with high-precision holes drilled for the most commonly used angles. In terms of geometry, this is not a linear scale, but a rotary system moving along an arc. The magnetic strip records the arc length in millimeters. To have the display show degrees instead, each movement must be multiplied by a specific scaling factor. The dp parameter then acts as a separator, allowing you to choose how many digits appear after the decimal. The indexing pin of this system is mechanically linked to the length scale. When you insert the pin into a hole, the entire fence shifts exactly as much as needed to keep the length scale accurate without additional calculations. Consequently, if your stop is set at 99.7 millimeters, your workpiece will always measure 99.7 millimeters when cut at an angle, requiring no further adjustments to the stop. Unlike eyeballing an angle on a standard protractor, the index system guarantees angle repeatability down to 0.01 degrees. Additionally, if your outrigger table is equipped with an angle sensor, you can display real-time angle changes by activating the parameter marked with the 4-5 degree icon. The second parameter is reference value. This is the 0 point from which the display calculates all measurements. Its purpose is to ensure the displayed 0 position perfectly matches reality. This parameter is critical and is used whenever you need to calibrate for precision. After performing a test cut, you can measure the workpiece with a caliper and enter the exact dimension into this parameter. This ensures that the actual cut matches the value shown on the display. If, after adjustments, your display reads 499.9 millimeters instead of 500 millimeters, return to the parameter settings and enter the 0.1 millimeters difference to correct it. There is a shortcut for this as well. Press buttons 1 and 2 simultaneously to jump directly to the reference value setting, bypassing the passcode. Once you have made your changes, do not forget to save. Otherwise, the new settings will not be activated when you exit. The third parameter is offset, a constant correction applied to all readings. If the display consistently lies due to the fence thickness, blade curve, or wear on the magnetic strip, the best way to fix it is by adding or subtracting a fixed value. You can resolve these issues using the offset parameter. Currently, my display is showing an inaccurate position. I can fix this in two ways, either by changing the reference value or by entering a correction via offset. Personally, I prefer using the offset method. Although there is no shortcut for this function and you have to enter the passcode to access it, I find it easier and less prone to errors. Furthermore, these types of adjustments are needed quite infrequently. The direction parameter determines the counting direction. Up means the numbers increase as the fence moves to the right, away from the blade. Down means they decrease. Why is this necessary? It depends on how the sensor is mounted. If you move the fence to the right and the numbers drop, it's counterintuitive and inconvenient. For a right side rip fence, we use the up setting, while for a left side fence, we use down. The auto parameter determines whether the display will turn off automatically after a period of inactivity to save battery life. In off mode, the display never shuts down automatically. It stays on until you manually press the power button. In on mode, the display will turn itself off after a preset amount of time. The period parameter sets the specific time delay for the auto off function. This setting only works if the auto parameter is set to on. If auto is off, the period setting is completely ignored and the display remains active indefinitely. In simple terms, the countdown begins from the last time you moved the fence or pressed any button. Once the set period elapses, the display shuts down. The RS2 parameter is responsible for saving the last reading. In on mode, The display remembers its position when powered back on. This is very convenient as it eliminates the need to recalibrate every time, and your last coordinates are preserved even when you change the battery. If off is selected, the display will always start from 0. The full off parameter is the power off delay. It works in conjunction with the power button to prevent the display from shutting down accidentally due to a quick tap. In other words, it is a safeguard against turning off the display by mistake with a single press of button 5. In on mode, you must hold the power button for 4 seconds to shut down the display. In off mode, the display turns off with a short press. The F-apps parameter allows you to quickly reset the display to the reference value. This is directly linked to the next parameter, 4, ABS. If 4 ABS is set to on, the reset via F, ABS will only trigger after holding button 4 for 4 seconds. If it is set to off, a single press will instantly reset the display to the reference value. The 4-second delay was specifically designed to prevent accidental resets during operation. It is most convenient to keep both F ABES and 4 ABES in the on state. This effectively turns button 4 into a dedicated shortcut for the reset function. However, if F ABES is set to off, pressing button 4 will have no effect and the reset will not occur. The F-real parameter enables the incremental or relative measurement function. It allows you to reset the display to 0 at the current fence position rather than from a fixed reference point. In on mode, you can enter relative mode and 0 the display at any point. In off mode, the display functions only in absolute mode. This parameter also has a shortcut. By pressing buttons 2 and 3 simultaneously, you can toggle this mode on and off. One last pro tip. If for some reason your display starts flickering and you know the battery is fine and the magnetic strip is clean, try holding button 4 to reset to the reference value. There is a high probability that this will stop the flickering and return the display to stable operation.